a big thing for me is around giving MPs knowledge about what matters to businesses and institutions that are having to enact and enable the change, and for the businesses and institutions to be able to say to the politicians that this is the stuff that we are needing to make this change happen. So everybody's getting to this point now with climate, environment, nature, where we're starting to hit a point of fatigue, I think, where it's very hard to get across the messaging that you should care, and most importantly, how you can show that you care or how you show you deliver impact. And as stakeholders, staff, people that as an organization you want to value you, are becoming more and more aware of what is real and what maybe isn't so real in terms of delivering impact that show where you care and why, then why you care becomes even more important, because to be able to articulate what it is you care about and what you're doing about it is now this integral part of who you are as an organization, and ultimately leads to you maintaining your sales, keeping your shareholders happy, and retaining and recruiting staff, because these are things that people really value and want to know about. I throw a lot of words around now, and have done for a while: climate change, sustainability, net zero, and a lot of that is starting to get lost in those meaningless sort of buzzwords that actually, when you ask people, they don't really understand exactly what you're talking about. I always think as humans, we relate to other humans. We like human stories, and therefore, as an organization or an institution, if you're telling stories about who you impact, why, and how that's helped them, and often how you're in a unique place to do that, then a story will resonate and stay with someone a long time after a buzzword or a caption that you've come up with will. They remember a face, they remember a person, they remember a place. Because they're the two drivers. You have politicians and the political sphere on one side that is creating the direction in a lot of ways for countries or international collaborations, and have the ability to make legislative change, so say you've got to do this. And then on the other hand, you have the businesses, which are the enablers and the people who are going to deliver on what these changes look like, and also are much quicker, much more reliant on changing in order to suit whoever it is they're representing. So businesses will move faster in order to maintain sales, in order to maintain customers, in order to show values that they care about, and then government can really kind of set the direction and the course. What I've seen a lot of, and certainly not new, but it was quite new to me coming into Parliament from a very operational background, was how those two things you would assume were joint discussions, and actually it doesn't happen that often. So a big thing for me is around giving MPs knowledge about what matters to businesses and institutions that are having to enact and enable the change, and for the businesses and institutions to be able to say to the politicians that this is the stuff that we are needing to make this change happen, or these are the areas that make it harder for us to do that. And so the better that relationship, the more you're going to find things are reactive to the markets and customers, and rooted, then you can create long-term legislation and direction if you've got the two together that is going in the right way. The researchers are doing the finding out. They're figuring out what it is the reason we know about all the changes that are happening through climate or sustainability, biodiversity, through supply chain management. Any of that kind of stuff has come from research that's been done by scientists. Scientists broadly are curious people. They are curious in specific problems. So they spend their lives, their energy, their time dedicated to finding out the answers to those problems. Businesses are then the customer facing piece. They're working with customers and shareholders, so they have to react. And using the data that the scientists produce allows them to be much more targeted in how they change and what they do. If you look at, say, the insurance companies, using scientific data is critical to making sure you understand what's changing fastest and where, and how you mitigate for that, how you insure for that, and how you help those people. Or if you look at someone like big manufacturers, the creation of products and where stuff comes from matters to people now. So you need to know from the data and the research side where that's come from. And then governments have that role to play in representing everybody that has voted for them. And that includes making sure that there's enough money to go into science, there's enough support for business, and there's enough rules and regulations to keep people on the straight and narrow, and sometimes to say, get back in your box, actually we need to go more this way. And not everyone might like that sometimes, but that's normally based on research data, business direction, and then government willpower. Where's it going to go? I want people to understand, as someone who has been out in the field, responding to major disasters, in the military, on a lot of expeditions in the polar regions and the mountains and the jungles, that you personally don't need to be changing everything you do. You just need to be doing it a bit smarter. You just need to be doing it in a way that fits with you. You need to be able to do things that fit with you as an organization, you as a group of people, and give you a story to tell. Because I think the connection we haven't quite found yet, and where we're really trying to get people to link, is what you do as an organization and the value you can bring to your own company or business or institution by telling that story is massive, and it's going to keep getting bigger. So link your story with the story of whatever you're doing, sound credible, and hopefully you come away from one of these talks thinking, actually, I've just thought of 4 or 5 different things that we could do that fit into these boxes and allow us to actually stand with pride and explain to people why we care about this and why our impact here matters.